Get Pucked. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Get Pucked podcast. Dave, Vito, and Matt here. And I don't know what. Vito, you keep track of this. What episode is this?
105?
105, let's say. How you guys doing?
Great as always.
Good. Now you
Great
have me
as
checking.
always.
I was right. It's 105. Wait,
It's 105. All right, welcome to episode 105. Yeah, I mean, so little update, I guess, since the last time that we got together. The Habs are on, I would say, a pretty decent run of late.
Just decent?
Better than decent. I was going to say heater, but they did drop that last game to the Dallas Stars in shootouts. That said, though, the game itself, they played very well, I think, overall. And obviously, the other games leading up to it, they've beaten some pretty big teams. They are in a really good place. I think it's been a lot of fun hockey we've been watching. I think it's been an enjoyable experience. And I think a lot of that has to do, first bump, when Patrik Laine got into the lineup, we saw an uptick immediately from where they were at. We talked about that before in previous episodes. However, I think the next very significant bump of their play happened when they acquired Carrier from Nashville. And so I want to ask you guys, will this go down? And I'm asking a little bit of future sight, and because it's understated, will this go down as one of Hughes and Gorton's best moves that they will make for the team? For the rebuild, let's say. Maybe, I don't know how long they'll be here, but for the rebuild, will this go down as one of the sneakily best moves that they're going to make?
Well, sneakily, when you add the sneakily word in there, probably. I think we were all in agreement that, it was a good trade. It was a good move, but I didn't think that it would have the impact that it had. Certainly, I think that it solidified the defense and calmed things down a little bit on the back end, and it's definitely propelled the Habs in a direction that they weren't going for and accelerated a little bit what they were planning on doing. Whether that trend continues is yet to be seen, but I honestly really think that it was a good move, and I think that I'm very impressed by what I see by Carrier, and I think that it took vision for Hughes to see it. So definitely will, when you look back on it, with hindsight, I think that definitely it's going to end up being a very, very good trade, and it's something that really this rebuild needed. And kudos to Ken Hughes and their brass to figure it out like that.
Full credit to the pro scouting there and Kent Hughes to going and get that, because it did stabilize the back end. And at the same time, it gave the options. Like we kept saying, once David Savard gets moved, and if he gets moved, but he likely will, who was going to be there to take his place? What veteran? We've been saying for the last while that the Habs need veterans, and they went and got a veteran, the right-hand defenseman that fit right away, made an impact, is way more mobile than David Savard is, and it made him expendable. And all the rumors suggest that David Savard's stock is getting higher and higher, and teams are reaching out, especially teams that feel that they're playoff contenders. So, there was also another, I think it was Eric Engels who said it, or I can't remember who, that apparently there are teams that are regretting not even inquiring or making the kind of move that Kent Hughes did to go and acquire Carrier. There are teams that actually could use a Carrier, and they didn't even think of doing something like that, or and you look at it right now, and then they traded Justin Barron just to get him, and Justin Barron is already falling out of favor there in Nashville. So it was a very shrewd move. It was very, very smart. It was well done. It was one that, again, nobody expected.
Yeah.
Which, so I guess, will it go down as one of their better ones? I don't know if it'll go down as one of their better ones, but it was definitely one of the ones that you could just see. You know how a lot of people are always looking for that impact forward, go get a top 6 guy, go get this. They went and get a guy who could play in the top 4 and stabilize things, and he happens to be somebody that they really, really needed. That I'm pretty sure that even most Habs fans didn't even have him on their radar.
Is it more so about everything that happened because he joined the team versus the player that they acquired? And that's why I think when you're going to look back on that, your people are going to say, yeah, him coming in was great. He's obviously a clear upgrade on Barron on what the team needed. But because you got a guy like him, you are now able to your point, Savard, the vet, can be replaced by this new vet. Gouli got to go to his side that he prefers to
It
play
changed.
on.
It changed everything.
But because of that, they managed to make this trade. If I say the Carrier trade and everything that came about it, not just the player, but everything that they were capable of doing, will it go down as one of their better moves because of what it was able to accomplish?
I think, honestly, I think it was just the timing was right too. It was everything. Like you said, Gouli got to go play on his strong side. You know, they gave the reins to Lane Hutson. It seems like the team is finally grasping and understanding the hybrid system that St. Louis has been working on and trying to put in place. It's you know, you're looking at everything, and it's like all the blend has happened. Kirby Doc started to show flashes of, you know, of the Kirby Doc that we remembered. He's still struggling, in my opinion, that he's not at 100%. But
Are you, well, hold on a second. Are you saying Carrier coming here all of a sudden made Doc?
no, I'm not
up?
saying that.
I
I'm
think
just
what he's saying is it led to it that everything working.
everything kind
It was
of
like a
blended all,
perfect
the
storm.
timing. Yeah, it was a perfect storm.
Okay.
The timing of it all with Carrier there. Yes, Carrier helped by stabilizing the defense and bringing his style of game 100%. But I'm not going to say Carrier is the one that changed the whole team, and that if he falls, the team's going to go back to the way it was. It's just everything is a perfect storm. It just all happened all at the right time. And Carrier was also that little piece that probably told the players in the room, hey, we're still adding. We're giving you what we need to do to be a bit successful. Wake up.
For sure.
Fair.
And I think the Gouli move over the left side, and Vito's been banging this drum for, you know, for a year now. I think that's what in turn it makes a clearer picture, and I'm sure the Habs kind of almost regret not moving Gouli there and finding a way to put him there right off the bat. And I think that it was detrimental maybe, but I think that what they're seeing in him right now at that spot, and you're seeing the real what King Gouli actually delivers, I think that was facilitated by the Carrier trade. So all in all, I think that Vito's right in terms of the perfect storm. I think that it just allowed for things to move. It gave the confidence for St. Louis to move things around and make things happen. And I think that it's just, you look at this team and how they're performing right now, I think that it's a good sign of things to come.
Players, listen, there was so many times that I was saying the Gouli thing on the left side, and I've been told, it's okay, he's capable of playing on the right side. Yes, he's capable of playing on the right side, but it's not his favorable side. It's not his strong side. So when you put a player like that, who's capable of doing it just to, you know, make up for a lack of depth, you're not getting the 100% of that player.
Yeah, it's poor asset management.
So really now they managed to get somebody who can play on the right side with David Savard there too, and now you have depth on the right side, and it allows for everybody to be where they need to be. Look at Jacky last year. The few attempts that they tried to play him on the right side, he was completely out of sorts. There's some players that can play it, but doesn't mean they should. Jacky is one of those players that play him on his left side. There's certain players that just need to play on his left side. They're strong sides, and that's it. That's all. Like, it shouldn't be that way. So, you know, they kept putting Gouli there on the right side to play with Matheson, and obviously after a while, maybe a couple of games, that was fine. But it became last year was like, we need to find a right hand player to play with Matheson, and put Gouli maybe on the second line. Now they just stopped all of that and just said everybody's going to be playing on the strong sides. It was enough. Like, I was fed up with that.
Long answer to come and tell me, yeah, this is probably going to go down as being one of their better because of how important
it's going to be a very good move. It's an impactful move. Clearly, it shows an impact. But to say that's going to be one of their best moves, I'm not going to.
That's what I'm trying to get at, because I think anybody who watches hockey, not even a Habs fans, will look and say, well, clearly the Habs won this trade and the team is better because of it. That's easy. I'm kind of probing a bit further, saying, look at all of the additional things that we've just mentioned that happened because of this trade, which is what I'm trying to say. Will the trade go down? Not the player. Will the trade and everything that fell into place because that player arrived? Will this ultimately, will we look back and say, you know what, Laine coming and drafting them and all these things happening? But it was really, oddly enough, that Carrier trade that was the real catalyst that really sparked that next level of the rebuild, because it made them competitive. It made them tighter defensively. It made them better on the ice, which made their confidence better, which made all the players progress more, which then led to the next thing. That's what I'm curious to know if you think is going to ultimately be, in hindsight, what it
made me realize, even more so than before, is that the current administration are laser focused. they're looking at every single player on every team. Because, like I said, Carrier was not a player that many people had on anybody's radar, especially for Justin Barron. And they even went as far as, when people think about it, the majority of people didn't know who Carrier even was or what he can do. Or if they did, they knew just a little bit.
Yeah,
and
but
they went
Carey
and
is
get this
also
guy and he
perfect
played
storm, huh? Like, if
Pardon?
Nashville's playing well this year, I don't know if they're looking to unload contracts and salaries like that and move Carrier out if they were actually playing what they were supposed to be.
Especially the offseason that they had. You didn't think that they would be moving players out at this stage. And I think that that's a testament of how things are going over there. But it is, you know, you have to have a keen eye and a pulse on the league as a general manager. And that's what he had, man. There's other GMs. Anybody could have knocked on that door and try to get some price and players out of there. Ken Hughes is the only one who was managed to do it and at a good rate. So
no, it was a big thing. And I guess realistically, the next logical question is, if we look in, as we're throwing all these flowers at the defensive core, if we were to say that since Carrier got here, that back end is now in a good place and no longer requires the immediate attention that it might have needed prior. What, in your opinion, is the next immediate thing that the management should look to do? And I'm not saying for the long, like just in the immediate. Maybe the answer is stay pat, but fundamentally there needs to be something next to happen. I'm curious to know what you guys think that is.
I still think they need to add something to their top six. I think that's a pressing matter. I mean, you could try to convince me Newhook and Doc are the guys and they're it. I'm still to me, Newhook is not in my top six in the future, and I know that he won't be probably with the guys coming up, but. Doc, I'm still, I know he's improved and I know his play is gone, but he still has a lot to prove to me. And, you know, with the struggles that Slavkovsky was going through, I mean, it's just, there's an improvement to be had there. Now, I'm not saying that you absolutely have to make a move to get somebody in the top six. I think that if they stand pat, it's not the end of the world. It's not, they're still ahead, they're still ahead of where they want to be in the rebuild, I think, in my opinion. And I don't think it's absolutely necessary. But if you could find a sneaky player again, like a Carrier style deal, and where you land somebody that's not on everybody's radar that could fit in that top six, I would absolutely go for it because I'm still unsold on the present top six of the Montreal Canadiens.
I know you guys might call me crazy with the recent play of Jakub Dobeš, but I would still shore up the depth of the goaltending at the moment because right now Dobeš is playing well and has won all the games, but I'm still it's a small sample size, so I would shore up that goaltending. I get where Dave's going.
What a hater!
I'm not a hater. It's just that the last thing I want is that the adrenaline comes down on the guy, and all of a sudden, you know, he starts throwing
adrenaline. This kid is cool as a cucumber. I don't even think he registers it.
I like it, but they still need depth. Think about it. They got Monty, Dobeš.
Yeah.
And then it becomes Jacob Fowler. And Primo, I'm sorry, has dropped all the way. And Jacob Fowler is nowhere close to coming.
Okay, hold on. Primo been doing pretty well in the AHL.
But we said it last time, too.
I know. I'm just devil's advocate. I'm just saying. He's been doing very well.
When he comes to Montreal, or when he comes to the big league, all of a sudden, what's going on in between the ears shows on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, they need to shore up the goaltending a little bit, especially in terms of depth. I still believe in Kirby Dach, but yes, if he can't contribute at a top six capacity, Montreal is in trouble there. Especially if they want to be a contender, especially if they want to get to that next step of being a year in, year out playoff team. Kirby Dach needs to take his game to a top six level on a consistent basis. That's the key word, consistent.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
absolutely.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you guys recall? I can't remember who it was, but somebody basically put out something, and maybe it was Brian Wild, who put out something to say that if you really want to compete for the Stanley Cup, you have to have X number of superstars on your team. Do you guys remember something to this effect?
I don't think it was just superstars. It was just you have to have a certain number of star players that per line that score a certain
percentage. Yeah, well, he has. Yeah, Brian Wild has the breakdown of like total goals that apparently you need to attempt to achieve to have in order to be a playoff team and stuff. I just thought I remember hearing that like if you want to really be competitive, if you want to go for the cup, you have to have somewhere between like 3 or 4 like superstars. And then so I'm thinking to myself, if we were to kind of look to the future just a little bit, right? And this is all under the sort of my question of what's the next immediate thing to do. Do you consider, let's assume Demidov comes and he's a superstar. Okay, we'll make that assumption. Okay. He's one. And we'll talk next year, hypothetically. Patrik Laine, superstar or no?
He's a superstar, but he has work to do, man. Fair.
I just want the label. So are we saying Patrik Laine?
I would say Patrik Laine's got the superstar name and the background, but he hasn't reached superstar levels yet. You know what I mean? Like, he's gotten hurt.
Well, he probably was and then fell off, but he needs to get it again.
But even at that, what are we talking? What's a superstar to you? Because a superstar to me is at least a point a game player or better.
Okay, fair. Or somebody who scores 45 plus goals
on a consistent basis, not an outlier season.
Fine, but for the sake of the argument, we'll call Patrik Laine a superstar. We'll just say for argument's sake. Okay, is Nick Suzuki a superstar?
Yes.
Okay.
I would agree.
I'm in agreement too. I'm just like, again, right? We're gonna project the future a little bit. Is Cole Caulfield a superstar?
Not yet. No.
Cole Caulfield is an elite shooter, but I wouldn't put him in superstar just yet. However, he can be.
Okay, but he's not. But he's close. He's a very good.
The problem is, I see where you're going at with this, is that if you look at the teams that have those superstars, their players are like 27, 28, 29, 30 years old. Montreal's still very young, and the players that were relying to be superstars or eventual superstars are still too young, with the exception of Patrik Laine.
But we have to. I'm asking to look a little bit to the future.
So if we're looking a bit to the future, then yes, Cole Caulfield is at the very least, if you're really going to go into the semantics of it all, is a star player.
Okay,
said superstar.
Okay, is Lane Hutson a superstar?
No,
yes.
Not yet. I mean,
yes.
You can't call him a superstar yet. You have to.
All of his advanced metrics are right there with the superstar defensemen in the league.
I'm not talking this moment. I'm just saying, because the idea here is, okay, so like, where do you go next, right? Like, what do you need to do? So if we're saying starting next season, you have, that was 4 forwards that you've now deemed either superstar or close enough to superstar, and you have 1 defenseman that's now a superstar. You have 5. You've identified 5 superstars on the team next year.
But
they're not there yet.
And there's superstars and there's superstars, right? You know what I mean? It depends. I'd have to go actually recheck the article and what Brian Wild was talking about.
I don't know if it was Brian, to be fair, but I recall somebody saying, if you want a shot at the title, if you want to really be that team, you need to have at least X amount of superstars on your team.
Yeah, but the superstars that you're alluding to, the ones that I think you're talking about, let's say Colorado's got Nathan McKinnon. These are guys that could, if they want, put the team on their back and carry them. Montreal doesn't have that yet.
I mean, they don't have a I don't know, man. I'm trying to think back. Did the St. Louis Blues have 5 superstars?
That was one. I'm going to give you the same argument that you gave me when I used the St. Louis example. Was that was one season, one.
Fair.
Okay, hold on. Nathan McKinnon is in a league of his own, like the Connor McDavid.
I get it.
I ask you this because they're an arm's length from us, and it's a simple thing. Are Mitch Marner and William Nylander superstars?
100%.
That's not even
Are they better?
Yes.
Than what all the guys we named potentially could be?
Skill level? Yes.
What's the skill level? Are they better or not?
Who'd you name, Marner and Nylander?
Are Marner and Nylander, and I think Marner is back, close to 100-point seasons. I don't think Nylander did that.
Barring like a exponential growth of any of these guys that we named. I mean, and again, we don't know Demidov. We're
playing fast.
I would say no. I would say no.
So at this stage,
that proves that you can have superstars and also not come close to a Stanley Cup.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
At this stage, and even if I want to go a couple of years, excluding Demidov, right? Montreal Canadiens do not have a player that, in my opinion, that can put up the points that Marner and Nylander put up on a regular basis. They don't got it. They don't have it.
So
call it a bold take. Call me a hater. Which, if you call me a hater,
I'm not
then
calling
you guys
you a hater.
no, not
All
you.
I'm asking
saying if
is for
anybody
you
calls
to
me a hater on
clarify.
this, they're idiots.
I think Vito's
But
the last thing from the furthest thing from a hater.
I just want clarification because I had you name names and you told me superstar 5 times. And then I said, compare them to Matthews and Nylander, who are superstars, but they are a notch under, like Dave said, the superstars. And yet you're saying that the guys you named, minus Demidov, who we have no idea, but looks like he's got the pedigree, none of them come close. So do they have superstars or not?
Montreal's got superstars when you look at the types of players that they have who can play, could produce anywhere between 70 and 85 points and play a two-way game. They could play an all-around game. There's a difference when you Jonathan Taves. I'll give you an example. Jonathan Taves goes down as one of the best two-way players to ever play the game. But the guy wasn't a 100-point player. But he still goes down as one of the best two-way players to ever play the game.
Okay.
So
if you have an army of two-way players, is that what you want?
But what you're saying, what you're going to give me, you gave me Marner and Nylander as an example. So they are offensive dynamos that pop you 90 to 100 points a season. Montreal doesn't have that. So superstars, it's all based on your interpretation of that word. So for me, a superstar, that word specifically is something that I look at it very different than what you're probably trying to question on right now. And the Montreal Canadiens don't have a Marner or a Nylander, but they do got somebody who's in the mold or is in the same shadow maybe, or in the same conversation as potentially a Patrice Bergeron, maybe a Patrice Bergeron light, right? They do have a Cole Caulfield like that who was a sniper and could pot you 40 goals. And you look at part of his game, and there's some aspects of his game that could be, who could I use as a perfect sniper? There's certain aspects of his game that could be Tyler Toffoli, but then then you look at his mobility and skating, and all of a sudden he's a bit better than that. Like you see what I'm talking about? There's Montreal's building a team that can produce. The Toronto Maple Leafs have superstars, have 3 of them, 4 if you want to count John Tavares. Then Montreal doesn't have those guys. They don't.
I mean, I asked the question to wind you up, so I'm happy that it worked. Yes, there is, and this is an important distinction, and of course, I'm just breaking your balls about it because the arguments that you see online about superstardom is subjective, and it does greatly depend on what you qualify a superstar. Is the bar set at 100 points? Is that where you define superstar? Is superstar defined as a defenseman who is a Norris Trophy winner and can put up 60, 70 points?
It depends. Like if we're going to talk about, let's say we're going to talk about a tier. Okay, so you have, in my opinion, you got McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon, Kel McCarr. That's one tier. That's one box. Then there's another tier where it's all the other superstars that we know of, the Kaprizovs, Kucherovs, whatever. And then there's a big drop off after that. I break it down like that. There's certain guys that change the team. They become the franchise. They become the generational talent that you put in that bucket. And I'm talking about just active players. I'm not going to the Wayne Gretzky's, the Mario Lemieux, and whatever. Just in that bucket of active players today. That's them. Then there's people below. Now, you might get some Leafs fans or whatever that might tune in and be like, how do you not put Matthews there? Whatever. Stop. Right. I'm just not going to put him there.
There's also an element, Matt, to superstardom, and the thing is consistency. Okay, and I think that in order to be a superstar, you have to be consistent for 5 years, 4, 5, 6 years, putting it up. You got look at a guy, for example, Alex DeBrincat. All right, he's a guy, very young guy, scored 41 goals in the NHL. Then he did it again a couple of years later. Everybody thought this guy was going to be the guy. I'm not saying he's not, but he's obviously not panned out to be the guy that he's done. And I don't know if you would put him in an elite superstar category. I don't think I would.
Player. Who's a good player could pop goals.
He's a star player.
Yes.
Not a superstar.
I think when he came in, a lot of people are like, this guy is going to be a stud.
He was playing with Patrick Kane. He was playing in Chicago. That was still a very strong team at that point.
Hence why consistency matters. Because those situations change, but superstars stay the same. Because they have the talent to play with whoever, and they make it work with whatever situation that they're playing in. And that's what a key factor. So when you say a name like Lane Hutson or Cole Caulfield and stuff like that, those guys are not superstars in my eyes yet. They can very well get there,
I guess
the key to me,
yeah.
they have to get there. And
but I also, I mean, I don't want to misconstrue where I was going with it to say, because it was part of how I was phrasing it. I'm not asking you to tell me if they're superstars now, but the trajectory that they're on and where you believe in the player. I didn't name, or rather, I didn't name Slav, and neither did you guys bring him up. But like some people are like first overall pick,
star player. He's gonna be a star player. Montreal's got a bunch of star play. They've got potential star players. I think when you look at that roster, there's maybe 2 players at the moment, prospect pool and all, that right now, I could be wrong, that have the potential to be superstars. I only give it to 2 players in the Montreal Canadiens entire organization.
Laine and Demidov.
Not even close.
Demidov.
Well, you got Demidov, right? Demidov and Lane Hutson.
You don't think Patrik Laine is going to be a super? Like the guy's trending for 52 goals this year.
The guy's missed a bunch of games already for the Habs, and you know what I mean. It's not to say that. And the other thing too, all of his goals have come on the power play.
I get it.
He hasn't done it on 5-on-5
that's what I mean. That's why I say there's a lot of.
I'm not saying they don't count, but the guy comes up and has an interview and he says, "Yeah, I was terrible on 5-on-5. I was terrible at this. My game is not where it needs to be."
Yeah,
I'm not saying he can't impact the game.
He's still trending for 52 goals.
He could impact the game. Not a problem. We know that. We can see it. But again, to go back to your consistency, part of the consistency aspect is the fact that he needs to be more present.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
He's played 14
I'm not saying
games
you can't.
Year, man. Like, we
can't
gotta wait a bit.
You can't attribute some of what's going on with him to the injuries. And like he's been injured, he's had health concerns, whatever. I get it. It's bad luck, whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that he can't be a superstar, but I will say this: at the moment, he ain't a long-term fixture for the Montreal Canadiens. So if I'm looking at the players that are going to be long-term fixtures,
well, let's talk about that for half a second. Let's talk about that for half a second. After next year, he's a UFA.
Yeah.
I know that it's a long time from now, but do you not see a spot for Patrik Laine for the future of this team?
Depends how much money he wants.
But
he won't get what he got. I don't think unless if he finishes this year on a heater and next year he puts up a tremendous.
He's one of those guys that has the name and that you know that he can impact the game, and his agent somehow is going to command like $10 million. And right now, if you ask me, I am not paying Patrik Laine, who is an injury concern, $10 million.
What did Patrik Laine do to you?
Yeah, this guy.
Why are you the president of the anti-Patrik Laine?
What I don't want is I don't want to commit $10 million to Patrik Laine.
Who said $10 million? Where's this number coming from?
Even $9 million. He's getting 8.
He's getting 8 and change now. Do you think he's going to re-sign for 8 something again?
He's going to sign for more.
You think he's going to sign for more?
Oh yeah. Well, Cap goes up, and there's always going to be a team out there. There's going to be a team out there that's going to look at Patrik Laine and the impact he can make and open that wallet out there.
Let me paint a picture for you for half a second about Patrik Laine. Okay,
you get drafted. Patrik Laine is going to get $6 million or something like that. You're out of your mind.
Before I tell you money, you got to talk about the individual. This is a strange cat. Everybody knows it. He was drafted and played a bunch of years in Winnipeg. All due respect, but Winnipeg. Then he gets sent to Columbus. No respect. I'm sorry. Columbus.
His trade partner got over $8 million now.
Hold on. But then he goes through personal stuff. He's out of the league for a while. He comes back, he gets traded, and he winds up here, the mecca of hockey, where he's talking about how great he feels, how he's talking about all this stuff. And I'm sure if given the state of where the team is going, where this is an upwards tick team. This is a rebuilding team that is now starting to go from the middle of the rebuild into the final stages. Next 2-3 years is the final stages. He's got 1 more year left. You're telling me this is a guy who's not going to look and factor all that in and say, you know what? What can you guys give me? Yeah, okay, yeah. I can go somewhere else and get another 8 and change for 4 more years. I'll do it here for 6.75. 7.
Hell no. You think this guy's going to look right now that he's making 8.75 and take $2 million hit?
If this team doesn't trade for him, you think he plays the way he's playing now in Columbus?
No, but the fact is they did trade for him, and he will put up the points. I mean, look, we'll have to see. He's coming back, right? We'll have to see how it translates his game, and there's still a whole season yet to play. But I have
And
a
next
hard
season.
time seeing. Yeah, but that's what I mean.
I'm
That's
not
what I
saying
mean.
he's going to sign for $6 million, guys.
Okay.
Don't misunderstand.
I have
I'm
a
saying
hard
I'm trying
time
to
seeing
illustrate
that.
a point that if he can go elsewhere, like Vito's suggesting, and some other team is going to pay this guy $10 million, could it not be feasible that he looks back and says, your captain, whatever Suzuki's making is 8 and whatever, and they got that internal stupidness that they do. Give me 8.
7.75.
You're not cool with signing Patrik Laine if he keeps producing for 8 for however many years. That's your no.
Well, I look at it I'm looking at it long term. You keep saying look at the future, right? If I give him the $8 million and change, or even 9,
8. Stay 8 for a second.
Let's get something straight. Lane Hutson is an RFA next season, and he's going to get paid already. That's
Okay.
one. Demidov's going to come in. He's going to sign his
3
full
years.
max ELC.
3
Okay,
years.
and 3 years. Right, perfect. 3 years. His ELC, which if he hits his bonuses and all that, could actually cost the Canadians in overages. If you really think about that, it could end up being $3.5 million hit. Then on top of that, you're going to have to sign Demidov. That if he does reach his ceiling, you're talking about a $12 million guy potentially. And meanwhile, thanks. I got Patrik Laine. He's signed for $9 million, but he's on fucking LTIR.
Okay. Again, you're projecting. Where does he all of a sudden LTIR? What if Patrik Laine is putting up 45 goals a year and he's finishing the season with 80 points and it's year 3 and now you got to sign Demidov? You're telling me you don't have a dance partner for a guy like this? You can't trade a guy like this if you had to.
I'm not saying you can't, but for you,
why are
right
you
now,
so? It's like you're telling me he has no future here. I think that's an insane take.
I didn't say he has no future here. I'm just
Rewind
what I'm
the tape.
saying.
Dave, rewind the tape. The man said he doesn't see him here as a future on this team.
I don't see him right now at this moment. You're asking me. I don't see him beyond the year, beyond next year. I don't see it.
Is that not telling me he has no future with the team?
No, because I'm looking at this one. Let's say next year he comes in, does 45 goals. 45 goals, okay?
Yes.
He scores 45 goals, 80 points. This
Yeah.
guy's getting $10, $11 million. He ain't getting 6.75 because we gave you a chance.
I was saying that to make a point about taking a bit of a 8. He can't sign again to want to stay here and everything that they're doing
for the same contract that he's getting paid now when the cap is going up and they're going to look at percentages. No, he's going to get paid.
I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. There's a whole lot of ifs and buts in this.
Well, that's the whole point.
And you got me cussing. You got me cussing.
I think the problem that I see here is we're always in love with the prospect of things happening, and Demidov could come in and could be a 40 goal. Meanwhile, you have a guy who's scoring at a 52 goal pace, and you already want to get rid of him. And it's get
rid of him.
But you don't even. It's not even a thought in your mind. You're like, I'm not paying him $10.11 million. No. But you'll sign whoever to that price because he has potential to score that because he looks fancy in his.
Would you honestly would give Patrik Laine with the numbers he's produced in the past, even when he was happy, he didn't produce $11 million.
It does. We're suggesting it depends. That's what we're saying.
If he has an insane second half, or he continues even on this trend and scores 20-something goals this year, let's say, okay, and he goes over next year and puts up the 45-point goals, and so he scored 70 goals in a season and a half, you're going to let him walk? You're not even going to think about giving him a $10 million contract?
I'm not saying here be a UFA. They might even trade him. I don't know. But right now, if you're asking me, after next season, if he goes crazy, would you pay Patrik Laine $11.5 million or even 12, which was rumored?
Where are these numbers coming from?
But
he's not going to get $11 or $12 million from any team.
The numbers don't even matter. You're telling me there's no scenario where you have a 50. What if he scores 50? You're still not going to open it up for him. Why? What's the point?
The whole speech about the prospect of things and the prospect.
But he scored 9 goals in 14 games, man.
It's tangible stats.
He's done it before. He's scored 9 goals in 14 games.
Yeah, drink that water.
In his only time here. I'm not even saying that's what's going to happen, but it's crazy to me that if that does happen, you see it as a negative and being like, I'm going to let him walk because I have a potential guy to replace him.
He's saying he's too good. He's too good. We can't afford him. He's too good.
No, I'm saying that there's other players on the roster. You have to balance out our roster. I'm not saying that there's
what if syndrome of the Habs fans.
I'm not saying there's no place for Patrik Laine. I'm just saying there's no place for Patrik Laine at what he could potentially cost when you have the rest of the players that they still have to sign.
If he puts up,
guys, there's a cap.
No, but let's say he finishes this
understand there's
year.
a cap, but
He
you-
finishes this year. Hold on a second. He finishes this year 28 goals. Next year, by trade deadline, he has got enough that he's on track that he'll finish that year with 39 goals. He comes back to the table. They're sitting down. They're like, okay, Patrick, well, here's the deal. We're going to give you your exact contract again. Exact contract. Again, we're going to re-up you. Same term, same money. What do you say?
If it's the same term, same money at 8 points, yes, that I'm okay with. I'm okay with in the eights, but I don't think he's going to sign in the eights.
You honestly don't think that the Habs,
No.
if that's the trend, if I told you he finishes 29 and then on pace for 39, you think he's going to jump from Montreal to somewhere else for what?
I think he's going to price himself out at $9.5–10 million.
No way, man. No way. I can't see that. I mean,
but
listen.
To call it a price out is crazy to me still, because you don't know what he's going to do. It all depends on what happens next year. And it all depends on that. And to me, to shut it all off right off the bat and say, like, if he puts 45 and he's going to want $2 million more than I'm willing to pay him, so I'm going to let him walk.
To me, right now, as it stands right now, I'm going to love to trigger this one. He's a liability. He's an impact player. I love having Patrik Laine, but he's the type of player that right now, I could sign him at $9.5 million, whatever it is, and he could end up on LTIR tomorrow. And I know we could say that about any player, but the history the history of his career is that he's injury prone right now.
That's why the year and a half is important. That's why I think we're having this discussion probably a bit early.
That's the fun of it.
I know that's the fun of it. But at the end of the day, like, this is all on the assumption that he's going to be playing for the rest of this season and next and not get on LTIR again. The injury at the beginning of the year was a fluke injury that could have happened to absolutely anybody. Right? Fair. Like, that's not something.
And he missed 5 games because he got sick.
But
it's not an injury.
Right now, this guy has only produced in one capacity. So until he could start producing in other aspects of the game,
we have been crying. This fan base has been crying for like 10 years about how we needed somebody on the power play.
And you're hearing right now.
But I'm not saying that you don't need someone in the power play. But if this guy is solely coming in and could only do something on the power play, do you realize that a team only goes on the power play maybe 2-3 times a game?
Oh my God.
So he's only useful 2-3 times a game?
You're telling me that you think Patrik Laine is a power play specialist? And he
I'm
can't
saying
score 5 on 5.
You're putting words in my mouth. I'm saying right now, all he has proven his game is that he's contributing only on the power play. I'm not saying he's
played 14 games after coming back from a freaking. You got to give him a little bit of time. Like you guys.
I am willing
Vito,
to give him time.
You give so much time to Kirby Dach. Kirby Dach can be the potential second line center because he missed time. Give him credit. This guy's been back from a disgusting leg injury for 14 games and has scored in 9 times in those 14 games.
We're talking about
full game.
We're talking about $10 million versus 3.5.
We're not even talking about.
Okay. I am talking about the money. Because what you give to him, you're losing out on other things. It is about the money too. It's always about the money in a cap era.
If this guy, I mean, anyways.
The love of potential. Kirby Dach could do something so he gets all the benefit of the doubt.
I want to know.
Because you know what you're asking me. Would I keep Kirby Dach over Patrik Laine? That answer is no. The answer is no. If you're asking me whether I would keep Patrik Laine over Kirby Dach, the answer yeah, I would keep Patrik Laine over Kirby Dach. There's a difference there.
Okay.
You guys got me.
Okay.
There's a difference there.
Please let us know in the comments your stance on Patrik Laine. Give us the scenarios. Make it make sense in any way you want. Is there any scenario where you re-sign Patrik Laine when he becomes a UFA? Or are you taking the Vito stance where even if he said, I'll play for Montreal for free, Vito wants him gone?
Oh my God, that's not the case at all.
Obviously, I'm joking, but let us know. I'm very curious to know about the Patrik Laine situation. Again, I think Vito has some points. Of course, you can't maybe necessarily give him unlimited money, but you got to at least consider re-signing this guy because I think there is a very strong fit here, and he could fall into I think he should fall into the potential of the future of this team. Let us know in the comments. I think that is something I'm very curious about. Let us know about what your take is about the Carrier trade too. Will this go down as one of Hughes and Gorton's ultimately better trades that they will achieve as the management head of this team? Curious about that too. And while we did get off track a little bit, I am also curious if you have the time, let us know in the comments about what your next immediate thing is that you will look to, if you were in charge of the team, what you would look to do for the Canadiens. Other than that, I think we're all going to go and take a big breath now. And if you want to add something, I feel like you're ready to pounce. You want to add something?
You guys got me dropping F-bombs and stuff. Damn it.
Good. It's nice to see a little passion for me, kid. Good. All right. Well, on that happy note then, for Dave and Vito, I'm Matt, and this was
Get Pucked.